Hi, this is Mary Wisner. I'm a librarian in the Gallagher Law Library. I'd like to talk to you about some features of the Internal Revenue Code on Westlaw. Now, as tax researchers, you know that the code is the cat's pajamas. It is important to absolutely every aspect of tax research. Westlaw has two editions of the Internal Revenue Code. The one from the United States Code Annotated, and also the one from RIA, from the United States Tax Reporter. Today we're going to look at those, and we're also going to look at a neat Westlaw feature that lets you compare versions of the code. As you know, the Internal Revenue Code is Title 26 of the United States Code. Westlaw defaults to the United States Code Annotated. It has the same features as for all federal statutes, including notes of decisions, history, and citing references. But you can also use RIA's edition of the Internal Revenue Code, and it has RIA editorial features like explanations, annotations, legislative history, and treasury regs. Now in Westlaw, it's often pretty easy to find a statute just by typing in the citation. So if we wanted to look at 26 United States Code, Section 172, we just type it in, and there it is, net operating loss deduction. An outline shows you how it fits in the code. If you wanted to go to table of contents of the code, you can see the sections that are before and after it. This is the same version that's in the United States Code Annotated, and you can also cite it as I.R.C. We have the text of the code, the history of all the times it was amended, notes of decisions. Notes of decisions are the West editors' summaries of cases relating to the statute. And you can look at those. Up at the top, we also have the option of looking at citing references. This takes us into KeyCite, Westlaw's citator. That mechanically looks at materials that cite a particular document, like a statute. You can filter by cases, statutes, secondary sources. We'll talk more about citators another time. Context and analysis is giving us secondary sources that will explain the material we're looking at. Now let's look at that RIA version. If I look at RIA I.R.C., RIA, that's Research Institute of America, I.R.C., Internal Revenue Code, 172. This is also what you see on Checkpoint. Checkpoint is owned by Thomson Reuters. Westlaw is owned by Thomson Reuters. So you can get this Checkpoint content on Westlaw with a Westlaw interface. We have the same text of the statute that we saw before, but we have other information. Links to Treasury regulations, links to United States Tax Reporter explanations, links to United States Tax Reporter annotations, links to United States Tax Reporter committee reports. Another way to get to that is, instead of scrolling down to the bottom, you can click on Table of Contents up here. Gives you where your code section fits, and has the committee reports, explanations, annotations. So if I click on committee reports, these are the committee reports as excerpted by RIA staff. The explanations are the explanations written by the United States Tax Reporter staff. So the net operating losses, NOL, and this is the overview that's available in the United States Tax Reporter. Now in the demo just now, I pulled up section 172 by typing in 26 U.S.C.A. 172. I just want to mention that if you type in I.R.C. 172, that works also. If you know that you want the RIA version, go to RIA I.R.C. 172. Let me show you another way to navigate. From the tax page, you can choose Statutes and Court Rules, Internal Revenue Code. This is taking us to the USCA version. You can drill down in the menu and find the section. On the right, in this light blue navigation bar, they're telling us other tools and resources we might try, including Internal Revenue Code RIA. So that's another way to get to the Internal Revenue Code RIA. When you're in the RIA version, click on Advanced, and if you know the I.R.C. section, you can just type it in there. I want to show you a cool thing in Westlaw that lets you compare the code from two snapshots in time. Looking at section 172 in the United States Code Annotated version. If we go up to History, on the left we see that there are 15 versions in the database. It tells us here's the current one that is currently effective. I'm going to add that to compare. Then there's the version that was enacted in 2018, version enacted in 2017. We can go back and have two different versions. Let's say we're curious about the version that was in effect during most of 2009. I'm going to add that to compare. And then up here, I can compare the two versions. And they redline the statute for us so that we can quickly see what has changed in the last 11 years. The green stuff with the shaded background is showing what was added. The red lettering with the line through it is showing what was deleted. And you can piece together what was going on with the statute. If you don't like the color, you can make it be black and white only. When it's black and white, deletions are shown with an angle bracket and a minus sign, and additions are shown with an angle bracket and a plus sign. You have to look pretty carefully, but you can figure it out if you put your mind to it. I'm going to go back to the highlights. Over here, this arrow pointing down lets me download. To recap, the Internal Revenue Code is available on Westlaw in two editions. One is the same as the United States Code Annotated, and one is the RIA edition as it appears in the United States Tax Reporter. They have different editorial features, and sometimes in your research you might want to look at both. This has been Mary Wisner from the Gallagher Law Library. See our website for library services, research guides, and more. That URL is lib.law.uw.edu.